Well, as it is, I have 3 laptops that I do and don't use. I have a Toshiba Satellite A60, or the Espirimo Mobile M60, the variations and everything, but it's an A60 model mine, which is running a 3.06 GHz processor, Pentium 4. The cool thing about the mobile Pentium 4s is that they're actually the desktop models. They use the same socket 478 processors, so it does save a hell of a lot of time. If you want to get a slightly cheaper, power efficient processor, shove in a mobile one. It's not exactly very... sorry, I pressed the wrong button there. It's not exactly the best method, but I switched an old Advent 7007 processor to a 2.8 GHz desktop model because it had the same front side bus and everything from its 1.7. It was a hell of an improvement. Let's say the other laptop's the Latitude CPX J650, and then I have an Espirimo Mobile Fujitsu Siemens. Sorry, a.k.a. It's Espirimo Mobile V3555. That's the one, I think. Which I may do a video on in a bit. I need to resolder the power jack. The machine itself is fine. That's a dual core T5850 or 5550. I think I've got that on 2 gig, 3 gig of RAM, something daft like that. But my brother was wanting that machine, but I've said no, not until I resolder it. So I just need to get off my ass and solder it, basically. Yes, she is still loading. The excitement never ceases. Desktops, well, I'll say about my Advent whilst we're waiting. I'll probably show it and do a video on it in some time. The Advent over there that I'm looking at right now was given to me by a friend of my grandmother. He was moving and he was in the IT trade for many years, and he had his own businesses and all this malarkey, and at the time he was moving house to go into a mobile home and travel and all this junk, which just so happened to be before the big economic downfall of 2006. And before that, I was using a Patriot computer, which is like a homebrew brand sold by PC World over here in UK, as well as Advent. Patriot's the cheaper brand. It was sort of Curry's Dixon's PC World, and Advent was more PC World. But they were both distributed by the same group, if I remember right. And that machine I had from about 2002 to mid to late 2005 when I got that, and that was a Pentium 3 1.1 gig Tualatin Celeron model, which sounds weird, but it was. I'd upgraded the RAM to 512 for the board. I'd got a PCI graphics card because it had no AGP port because it was cheaper, but as surprising as it was, I didn't used to have a lot of money, so I could only upgrade rather than replace. But by 2005, that machine was struggling. Games, music, I mean, I'd started doing all DVDs, copying my discs and burning them off and everything. And God, compressing video, copying my games and compressing them that I used to do to back them up. It was a long haul process. Needless to say, I played through many a PlayStation and PS2 game during that time. And as I say, when my grand's friend was moving, he says, well, I've got this computer. Would one of your grandsons like it? And being as I was at the time in school and everything and doing some of my courses, my grandmother said, well, yeah, our Andy, he'd like it. So she got it, and it took down to her house. Well, my grand's house is in a street called Brunswick Street in Whitby, which is my hometown, where I used to live. I'm still next to it, but I live in Russup now. But we used to live on the West Cliff, which is about a 20-minute walk up and down, depending on how you go. So after school one day, I went down to my nan's and got it. And I walked up from my nan's house to Rose Avenue where we lived. God, that took forever. My arms were killing after that. And it's not a very heavy case, but all us nerds, we're all soft and weak, aren't we all? But as soon as I got that, it was like magic. I was extracting and compressing files and it was taking minutes instead of hours. What used to take, I couldn't play Xvid videos properly on my old machine. There's a surprise. Xvid used to give it struggle if they were too high a compression. Everything just worked. It was 200 gigabyte hard drive as well, and I'd been managing with about 40 or 60 gigs worth of space. And it had a GeForce 6 6600 256 meg graphics card from PNY, and that was awesome. I was playing on Call of Duty 2 and Fear and things like that with it. But it died. Powered it off one day, powered it back on, dead. Swapped in my brother's Radeon 9200 SE, came to life. But I ended up frying that in another board by mistake. But I ended up having to run the machine with a 1 meg graphics card for ages because I didn't have any other AGP cards. And at the time I was keeping my old machine as my old machine, and I was playing games on it still. And then I eventually switched the card over to the 64 meg, and then I bought another. This is an exciting story, but this thing is painful. I haven't even got a clue what it's loading anymore, I just know it is. It's had 3 power supplies, the Advent computer. I've upgraded the RAM from its original 512 to 768, 1 gig, 1.5, 2. Tried upgrading it more, but it could only take up 2, which was an annoyance. The processor is the same processor. I never had to upgrade it. It couldn't take anything faster except the Pentium 4 Extreme Edition, which I got gypped on eBay one time, and that was an expensive gyp. But I believe the guy got caught and shut down. So there is some justice in the world. But again, I ran that for the nearly 5.5 years. And then it was time to upgrade to my current machine, which is a home build on the cheap. It's top range tech 2007, 2008, but it does everything I need for now, till I get another. This thing is painful. But whilst I've idled away 5 or 10 minutes, we shall look at the Compaq. So this was a machine she had, I believe she'd bought it, but with a load of monitors and things, and she was sort of saying, well, what can I really do with it? Can I sell it on? Will it be worth a lot? Will people be interested? Again, it's another XP era machine. It's an AMD Sempron. I know it's the 3000 model. And doing a quick check online of the model, it can take the Athlon 64X2 4800 Plus. So I may upgrade it. And I may even give it to my brother. He's needing a new machine soon, so who knows. But the model itself is a Compaq Presario SR1709 UK, which isn't too bad. Medium form factor. Usual black stickers, yes, nobody cares. You always have to open PCs up. Onboard graphics, I believe, is a Radeon X13 inbuilt or something like that. I can't remember now what it said. analog digital SPDIF instead of optical, and it's has got a built-in, not built-in, sorry, an external wireless card, but the aerial's been snapped off, as can be seen. Not a problem, I'll just either swap it out or run it on Ethernet. I tend to run most things wired. And it is dusty. Like her computer, when I was working on it, good God was that dusty. It was bad dusty. It's got a 71GS NVIDIA PCI Express graphics card, which I'll probably switch into the other machine that my dad gave me for now, since the 86 is bust. I may be able to restore it, I may not. I mean, this thing was a bit worse when I opened it up. Again, this machine I think is running 1 gig. It did have the original DVD-ROM and DVD writer, but she said, well, can I put them in my computer? And I says, yeah, there'd be no problem, we can do that. So, but that doesn't bother me, I've got tons of them. I think it was a 160 gig, no, it's an 80 gig hard drive. But if I ever get my brother to upgrade, I can switch him to serial ATA and stuff with it, although the case and everything he's got is fine. My laptop's still loading. So yeah, this is for strip down and clean out. Although the work on her machine, she needed doing. It had been reinstalled a few years before, and it wasn't actually her computer I was coming to look at, it was this one, because she wanted to either trade it on or sell it. But when I got her computer was just